So, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to our racism talk. You're welcome. We are glad that you are here. Get your chair, get your tea, get your water, and join us so that we can have this conversation today. And the conversation today is with a dynamic lady, and she is Cornelia Hentschel. Today, we are going to be talking about racism and the effect of racism on women. With the death of George Floyd, that was on the 25th of May 2020, the world certainly realized again that the subject of racism was kept and pushed under the table. And so it was time for real dialogue, a time for conversations. Thousands of people went on the streets for demonstration to fight for against racism, and we, as Sampon Social Service, decided to continue the conversation because it is good to demonstrate, it is good to also fight for our rights, but we want to continue the conversation on a weekly basis so that the fight goes on and it is continuing. And of course, that's why we invite always experts to our platform so that we can exchange and we can have this dialogue. And of course, this is a space whereby we want to vent together, we want to exchange ideas, dialogue, and of course, with the intention to heal ourselves from the past, from the wounds that we have obtained from racism. And after being healed and empowered, of course, we want to take action, positive actions to fight against racism. Our intention is that everyone who listens to us either decides to be anti racist or decides to fight against racism. Any of them, it's they have to only choose one from these two, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to subscribe, share the link with your friend, and invite your friends so that we can have this conversation today. We are also live on YouTube. That is the Sumpon Global TV. Subscribe to the TV so that you are always informed. We are not only working with the subject of racism, we have diverse other programs to educate you these days. I hear it is said knowledge is power. But we do not want to just give you knowledge. We want, of course, that you put this knowledge you have been receiving into practice because perfect practice makes the master. So welcome with me, ladies and gentlemen, our guest of today, a dynamic woman. And I am so happy, Cornelia, that you took the time out to have this conversation with us. It is not an easy conversation, but I am glad that you are here. Welcome, Cornelia. How are you today?
Good evening, everybody. First, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all you beautiful people out there who also took your time to take an hour out with Vera and myself. I'm doing good, and I'm telling you guys, I'm going to put some good energy oozing out from my side to all you people out there so we can just have a real good evening. Yeah?
I am feeling the energy from your side now,
Yes,
and
yes, yes, that
it
is how
just
we roll tonight.
Mhm. This is amazing. This is amazing. So, how was your day today, Sassifin?
My day was good. My day was good. You know, there's no perfect days, all days, but you always have to take all the best out of a crazy day as well and make it your good day. It all depends on what you do, make out of your day.
That is a very, very beautiful way of living and way of thinking. We are welcoming, of course, on board Mr. Bonifor, who is watching from Yaoundé, Cameroon. We have also a dynamic brother who is watching from, or it's a sister, I guess, Raphael Lagos, watching. Where are you watching from, Lagos? Let us know, Raphael, where you're watching from. We have already people watching also on YouTube and on Facebook. So invite your friends, ladies and gentlemen. Invite your brothers, invite your family so that together we can exchange, we can learn, and we can, of course, empower ourselves so we can take actions for change.
Mhm.
Cornelia, this is your space, and today you're going to be talking on the effect of racism on women. I welcome you again on board.
I'm very happy to be here. Good evening, everybody out there. I am so excited to be part of your panel this evening to talk about a this racism issue that has been part of my life as a born South African, coming from a very diverse community, born in Cape Town, in a very racist. Racism. When I hear this word racism, I'm thinking people talk about it right now, but it has been part of my life all my life. Racism has been part of my life. I was born, unfortunately, in an apartheid system, and we all, as a nation, had to live every single day to survive, with our own lives as well, to come out alive in our daily living because of this racism and apartheid system, to make the better part out of us, as people and as such a diverse community. So for me, and all South Africans who are listening right now, racism is part of our life. I have been sitting with women in our group in Frankfurt, and I felt sorry for them when they mentioned, you know what, I only realize now that I'm black. I'm living in Europe, and I'm only realizing now, they class me that I'm black, and I come from a country where we come from Africa, but we never had to deal with this. And this has been part of my life coming from South Africa. And just to give you a little bit of background, who I am and what I do, Sassy Finn originated from my mother. She is Susan Finn. She married into the Finn family from KwaZulu Natal, which is a very, very mixed family. They are mixed between Zulu and the British. It comes from the colonial times. So I'm still a generation which is not far from the line, um, in KwaZulu Natal. So as I was growing up as a South African, a woman of color, I grew up in Cape Town, but as a foreigner. So when people call me a foreigner, sometimes I don't even take them seriously, because as I was growing up in Cape Town, I was always a foreigner all my life. In school, when I was sitting in the school bank, people were saying to me, the kids were saying to me, "Oh, well, you have the surname Finn, so you're foreigner anyway, so what do you want? Just to do your second line, but not the first, yeah." So we laugh about it now. In our Corona time, we had our chats about our history, and I was laughing with my schoolmates and saying, "Hey guys, do you realize that I am very much a part of Zulu in me as well?" I never knew that until I got a little bit older and I was an adult. Yeah. So this is the diverse and the colorful background that we as South Africans, most of us have. Yeah. Um, uh, the sassy Finn, the sassy part of the name originates from my mother, who was a community woman. She has been very active after the war days, where a lot of people lost their properties, lost their homes, and then apartheid came, lost a large amount of paperwork and everything. So she was the mother of everybody, helping everybody out. Yeah. Uh, Taking care of birth certificates and pensions and whatever for people, because most of the people couldn't read and write. Uh, I do community work as well. I started doing this when I was in my sixth grade. When I started high school, I had a really bad skin problem, so an asthma, so I could not go down to the beach like all my friends were lying on the beach all day when it was holidays. So I could only go down to the beach at 4 o'clock when the sun is not so hot. So I had to find something to do. So what I did was I started doing sport. I started doing squash, which was an indoor sport when I got a little bit older to be out of the sun. And then um, I started going into the hospital, the orthopedic hospital, working with children. Yeah, and this is where my work started with what I'm doing until today as well. Yeah, and my position, what I'm doing right now at the moment is I'm one of the 7 directors in a big NGO, in government NGO in Germany called Demigra, and we are basically a female organization. We organize a lot of programs for families, for women. We fight for a lot of rights. For women in Germany, not just in Germany, but in Europe as well. And a lot of change has happened until now. And what we're doing is we're not stopping because there's still a lot of work to be done.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work to be done, and then that takes us to the question. You spoke about apartheid and racism in South Africa. Now we are in Germany, and the question is, how does racism affect women in general?
Uh, I would talk about my experience. I am in a male-dominated job, which is dealing with machines in the machinery business. So it's male-dominated. Yes. So once you walk in, and as you can see my nails, yeah, I walk in. I know my machine. I have to sell it, and people can't deal with that because they know you're responsible to sell this machine, and you have to make the paperwork from A to B. But now you're in a position where they look at you, no, I don't want to deal with you, because of your color. So what I normally do, I have a very quiet, normal conversation with a person, and without him even realizing it or her realizing it, I educate you in a very short period of time, and then about 15 minutes later, they deal with me in a whole different way. Yeah.
So you
So
mean that color plays a very, very plays a role, has a way of affecting the
a
woman?
very big role, color, and because that you are a woman. Yeah. In a lot of jobs out there, and this is what we as the NGO and many NGOs in Germany as well, we're fighting for, is to be accepted as women, and the minute we also stand tall and say, I'm also capable of doing the job what you're doing, and
Mhm.
doing it the same way as the men, not being a man, still being a woman, but do your job the same way that the men are able to do his job as well. Men do respect you for that, but women
Right.
must start to stand up and say, hey, I'm capable, this is my job, I know what I'm doing. And the minute you let this person also say, stop, hang on a minute, give me a minute to finish my line, and then they start having respect for you. But the
Oh,
minute you stand back and you don't have the self confidence, then they think, aha, there I have the first shot, and then they take the next shot, and then you're gone. So for
mm,
us as women, we are in a position at the moment in Germany where this time where many years ago, when I was still much younger, when I came here, there were many of the women who came here were not educated. We are past the stage now. We are at a stage in Germany where the women are more educated and the women are more capable of taking professional spaces and taking what belongs to them, you know. And this
mm-hmm.
is what women have to realize as well, that their space is there and they should take it.
Beautiful. I am having the pleasure. We are having a visitor with us. Haley, you're welcome from South Africa, Cape Town.
Hi,
How are
greetings,
you?
Haley.
Greetings. Are you okay? Okay. Thank you. We can't hear you, unfortunately. So we can hear you, unfortunately. And Mrs. Cornelia is, we can't hear you. And of course, Cornelia is connecting back because of her network. I guess she has some network challenges. The effect of racism on women. In the previous edition of our conversation, we had Mr. Rahima Diallo, who informed us about the system behind racism. And Rahima Diallo said that racism is the white privilege, white supremacy that has been established in institutions and in structures. And then we proceeded further with Maria Kaina, who gave us, of course, a very dynamic insight on how racism affects family. So today we are wanting to see how racism affects women. Cornelia, you're welcome. Or Sassafin, you're welcome.
Sorry guys, but I got so excited that Haley was online that I lost my camera. she she logged in all the way from
Okay.
Cape Town,
She locked
from
all
my
the way.
hometown.
Yeah, she's here with you, so you can still exchange with her. So,
Ah,
but unfortunately, we can't hear her. So let's
no, it's
continue the
okay.
conversation, Josephine. So, what exactly is when if we have to go step by step? What would you say? How can women become anti-racist so as to fight against such evil caused by the oppressor?
Okay, as a African woman, as a diaspora woman, we are facing a very difficult situation. At the moment, I think it's an even harder situation after what happened to George Floyd, because now more people are coming out and talking about their experiences. What I am saying, African women has always they've always stood together to bring up families. So the families and the aunts and the uncles and the neighbors brought up a family. So what we have to do as the African diaspora living here, we have to work together. Yes, we have to work together and raise this awareness into our families about racism, to have a different mindset. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to have a different mindset about what is all about racism. Yeah, once we tell our kids at home, this is what racism means, this is what this monster can do to you. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do that, it ruins our kids, it ruins our family, it ruins our husband, our daughters. They are dealing with different stuff in the school environment, even in the kindergarten. You know, I hear really horrible things which happen in our daily life happening here in Europe. So for us as African women, when we see our black sister, you know, is dealing with some problem, we don't have to say, oh well, it's not my problem, you know, I don't have to hear or listen to her. We need to step out and say, hey, where can I help you? Where can I lend a hand? Where can I guide you? You know, and this is the only way that we will be able to stand stronger and to make our voice heard, and to also let the other people know, oh my God, they're not alone anymore. You know, there's another African sister coming with her. You know, and this is how we will crush this monster, that I call it a monster, because it
Mm-hmm.
is a horrible thing. And if we start with, because the mothers are the foundation in any family, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start at home and
Okay.
printing this into our children's heads, into our husbands' heads, into our kids' heads, and whatever, then we will not just have a seasonal change, because we don't want a seasonal change. We want the change to happen, that it will be sustainable, that it will be there for our grandchildren and their children, not just our children, but our grandchildren and their grandchildren. Our grandchildren, when we finish with what we're doing with this monster, to crush it, to remove it from each system, and let our government and our politicians also understand what we are dealing with, then our grandchildren will not even know this word racism anymore. They would ask at the end of the day, what are you guys talking about? What is that? So
Mm-hmm.
we have a really bigger job, you know, to tackle this thing and to get rid of it. But we need to get rid of it not in an aggro way. I always say, when things didn't happen to you, and I don't know of one African person that I have met in Europe who has not come across racism, not one. Yes. And if we say, and people say, you crazy, you dealing with racism, you're coming from South Africa, you know, you experiencing it for the second time in another country, your head must
Mm-hmm.
be, you know. But I feel the need that there is, that we have such a lot of, it's not like when we came here years ago, we have a lot of educated people of color. We know what
That
we're
is
talking
true.
about,
Mm.
we know what we're doing. So
That
we
is
are
true.
not, we are not this generation we came before, who were uneducated. They had to learn every, and even the Africans who come now, or the foreigners who come now, they, the first thing, they educate themselves. Most of them, they educate themselves. We're talking here about professors, doctors, and whatever. They are all people of color, you know.
Wow. So it mean I would want to have Haley. I hope that I pronounce your name correctly. You're watching, or you came join the studio. Thank you for being here. Uh, Now, Miss Sassifan is talking about racism, the aspect of women here in Germany. What do you think? What is the effect of racism in on women? Can you share your views with us? Oh, we still can't get you. I think your phone, your microphone has a problem. Unmute your phone. So I think she still got a problem. Unfortunately, we can still hear you. We can hear her. I will continue with you, Sesifan, because we can't hear your friend. That was a
Yeah.
good thing, I by the way, to bring her to join the group and to empower ourselves as women the more. Uh, in fighting again to become an anti-racist as a woman, Cecily, you said that we need a renewal of our mind for the women. We need to be active in the conversation at home with the kids, with the children, with the family. We need to be politically awake, alert or awake, so that we can be able to do this work. And then we should have confidence. And you also went further to say that we have more intellectual women nowadays than before. So we owe the responsibility for our kids to fight this monster. You call it is a monster. Okay. Now, my next question for you was, how can a Black woman nowadays overcome? We have already discussed that. In the last discussion with you, we discovered that women had some challenges to work together so as to overcome this monster. And my question was, how does racism affect women working together? Because if we have to fight this fight together, then we must work together to fight this fight together. So, how does racism affect the working together of women so that we can fight this fight together?
Okay, I will start from an experience from myself, how I started tackling exactly this problem as well. Coming from South Africa, we never traveled to Africa. We always just traveled to Europe, to America, to Australia, to the UK, to New Zealand. We never got to know, many of us never got to know Africa, yeah, as such. So what I did, I educated myself, and because I was part of an NGO, two big
Mm-hmm.
NGOs in Frankfurt, I started getting to know the different countries. Yeah, I
Okay.
started getting to know the different women. Some of the countries, although I'm an African, I didn't even know where some of the countries was lying. So
Mm-hmm.
for me to get along with my African sisters as well, I had to educate myself to get along with them, because
Mm-hmm.
we in South Africa, we are very European, and there are certain stuff that we do, and the other African sisters say, hey sister, you can't do it like that, you have to do it this way. That's not a proper African way. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to educate myself first to be able to work with my African sisters, and
Mm-hmm.
a solution for us as women to work with each other to make even stronger and bigger effect, and uh, oozing our confidence into the next person as well, and to the next person. We have to, as women, educate ourselves first, and then getting to know our next sister. And the minute that works, I'm telling you, there's nothing that can move us. Because as
Mm-hmm.
African women, there's a different kind of blood that runs in our veins.
Mm-hmm.
There's something special inside of us that it doesn't matter what we tackle. If it's
Mm-hmm.
small and we stand together, we kick it. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
make it happen. We make change. We make it happen. So for us, the only way to get along with the next African sister as well is to get to know each other, like what I did. I'm talking from experience. And then ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. I always say everything starts with education. What you don't know, I freaked out my mother as a child because I always ask questions. I always say, if you don't ask questions, then you cannot get any further. And this is what my strong belief is: educate yourself, and you can educate the next one. And then we can make change, which is not going to last, like I said before, for one season, but it's going to be a sustainable change that will go into the history books, because where we have to start at a proper foundation. Everybody's talking about we have to tackle this racism in this manner and that manner and this manner. No, you don't fight anger with anger. It's not ever going to be a solution. Yeah. So we have to work with it from a different angle. We have to start with our foundation, and our foundation is where the homes are and where the mothers are. Yeah. And then we
Mm.
take the next step and we start building our house further. And
Thank,
we are on a good way already.
thank you so very much. We have um, Francisco Mina, who is watching from Nairobi, Kenya. You're welcome, Francisco. Share the link with your friends, with your family. This is our platform where we come together to exchange, to learn history, to empower ourselves, heal ourselves, and then we take actions for change. And of course, I want to welcome also Charity Wairimu, who is watching also, I guess, from here, Germany, and she was informing Helia to unmute her phone. I want to welcome Maria Kaina, who is also watching, and of course, we appreciate all of you. Thank you, Maria Kaina. She's saying good evening to you, good evening to us. You're all welcome. So
Maria.
share the link with your friends, subscribe, be a part of this family so that together we can work hand in hand to fight the monster called racism. And Cornelia, back to you. You said that for us to work hand in hand so that we can fight this monster called racism, we have to educate ourselves. So I guess you're talking about self education, knowing our history, understanding the motivation behind racism, that racism was installed so as to divide us. Remember the divide and rule method of approach from the oppressors. And then you said that it is also important for us to ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. And I think that it is so important to ask questions because we do not want to be on the position of suspicious or just imagining and thinking. And therefore, the tool of asking questions helps us be transparent and so we can work together. And then you went further to say we cannot fight hate with hate. So tell me, how do we solve the problem now? I mean, racism is hate. How do we solve the problem of hatred of racism without being also a hater?
I must say it is certain situations that brought up a lot of anger inside of me because of where I come from. And I was in a position in Bayern where I was working as the only black woman in a machinery business. Yes. And I walked in and I was told that, what are you doing here? So I said, I happen to work here. And
Mm-hmm.
then the owner of the property said, but I don't want black people on my premises.
Oops,
And then
that was direct.
I didn't realize that 2 weeks before, the ex-owner of the company, he just fired a black worker for no reason. He was a very good worker. He was fired because he was black. I got to know him later because he heard that I was working in the company. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, sister, you're crazy. How can you work in this company? Because the property owner, he don't want blacks, on the premises.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I confronted this man. He left me alone for a while and then he started bugging me again. But because I am doing what I'm doing for such a long time, since many years, I thought to myself, I can hate this man. I can treat him really ugly. I can use not so nice words on him, which
Mm-hmm.
is not my nature.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother always taught us, when these people come and attack you, it is not your problem, it's a problem they have. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to fight them with love. You have to greet them every day and say, how are you? And things like that until they get so sick and tired of you. And at the end of the day, they will greet you, you know?
Mhm.
And this is
Mhm.
exactly what I did. It didn't last for long. And this is a situation where you stand and think, this hatred comes inside of you. And you think, I don't like what is happening here, you know?
Mhm.
But then you have to learn to walk away, just to walk away. But at the same time, we have situations where a lot of people of color is facing today in Germany and in Europe, and not just in Germany and in Europe, but around the world in their workspace, you know, they are getting mistreated
Mhm.
because of the skin, the color of their skin. And my solution is what I've always done. I confront the person. A lot of people didn't like because I confront them, but you know, they first get a shock. They really get a shock because they don't expect you to answer them. They don't expect you to ask them, who gives you the right to actually treat me like this, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then after that, they realize, oh my God, I didn't really expect this woman to answer me. So
Mhm.
as they walk away, they also, there's a lot of stuff going in their head and thinking, this woman just asked me questions, you know? So the
Mhm.
minute you start asking them, who actually gives you the right to treat me in this manner, and you just leave it at that, you know? And if they get
Mhm.
angry at you, you don't answer them, you just walk away. And the
Mhm.
minute you start letting them get busy in their own mind, they start thinking of what they've done. You know,
Mhm.
the time is gone where we as people of color and Africans has just accepted being treated badly. It doesn't matter by who it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like I'm just thinking of an incident which happened to my mentor last month. Um, last month. Sorry, last month, which happened to my mentor, Dr. Hetzberger Fofana. Yeah,
Mhm.
she was attacked by the police on the train station in Belgium, and this police he gave him the right. He treated her badly as a woman,
Mhm.
and who gave him the right to do that, you know?
Mhm.
So the minute she opened her mouth and asked him questions, he started answering her back and saying, I can also use other methods if you don't want to do what I say, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is the part where we say, how do we deal with that? Do we accept it, or we walk away from it? The thing is, we don't accept it. The minute we
Mhm.
accept it, it doesn't matter if it's racism or abuse or anything. The minute you accept it, you have a problem.
Today, I have the impression that you distributed the whole link to many of your people, and I'm happy that they're here. Let's see what Haley, can you talk now? Oh, this is so unfortunate that she's all the way from Cape Town and she really can express herself. And uh, I think maybe you go out and then come in again and accept everything about the meeting, and I'm sure that you're going to be able to share your point of view with us. I guess you have some points to share. Now, Cornelia, we have another visitor in the house. You're welcome, sir. How are you today?
Ja, hallo. Ich denke,
You're welcome.
Mein Englisch
Oh,
ist
hi.
nicht wirklich
Yeah.
mit,
So nice that
also,
you're here.
It's
Schön,
great
dass du
having
da
you.
bist. So, schön, dass du da bist.
danke.
Okay, you're welcome. So we are definitely going to come to you, and then I'm going to continue the conversation with Sisyphon. Sisyphon, you say three things are important. I summarize three things from your point of view on how to overcome racism. You said you need a big portion of love so that you
Yes,
can
very
overcome
big portion.
racism. And then you said you have to somehow confront the people with questioning who gives them the right to treat you the way they are feeling and the way they are doing. And then, of course, I want to go from the point of view that you are also talking of forgiveness, like Nelson Mandela said. So I think these are the three things I got from your point. And that takes us to Nelson Mandela, who said that hatred, no one is born to hate. And if
Yes,
we can learn to hate, so too can we learn to love. So in
Mhm.
your point of view, you say love covers a multitude of racism.
you hate me, I love you, darling. This is how
Okay,
I was brought up from at home. Yeah.
thank you so much. We welcome also Caroline Mwanyoma, and we welcome every other person. We welcome to our guest who is there to support Cornelia. Um, Can we ask you the question? What do you think? Does racism have an effect on women?
You're asking me or Noel?
He's Noel, okay, because his name is Racismus Stop. Does racism have an effect on
Dein
women?
Deutsch, Noel?
Ich denke,
Wie gut ist dein Englisch? Entschuldigung, wie gut ist dein
also ich
Englisch?
denke, wenn ich auf Deutsch mache, das ist besser. Wenn ich
Okay,
anfange, mein Englisch zu sammeln, ich denke,
okay,
ihr werdet ja, also hören ja, aber vielleicht nicht alles verstehen.
Okay.
okay.
Also
Dann würde Vera
mein
das
Englisch ist
übersetzen
so,
oder ich?
mein English is so bad, and it is better for me to speak in Germany.
But that's you're speaking good English, so go on. All the
Please,
language are the oppressor's language, so we are trying. So keep trying here. So tell me, you're welcome to the show. You're welcome to our conversation. The conversation today is Get Your Knees Off Our Neck. And today we are talking with Cornelia Hentschel, and her topic was the effect of racism on women. And up to now, Cornelia has said that women have to work together, and for women to work together, they have to educate themselves, they
yeah.
have to ask questions so that they can overcome, of course, the tactic of the oppressor, which was and which is still the divide and rule tactic. And then she proceeded further to say, as a black, South African woman, she grew up in an apartheid. She grew up in apartheid. She grew up in the racism system, so she understands that
Mm,
racism has to do with color, and she works in a main dominated sector. And in the main dominated sector, there's a lot of racism going on there. And of course, she has to be very confident and to be able to overcome racism also in that area. And then I asked her the question, so how do we overcome it? And so she said, love covers a multitude of racism. So if we have much love, then we can be able to cover hate. And therefore, going from the principle of Nelson Mandela, who said that hatred and is not, we learn to hate, so we can also learn to love. I want to welcome all our viewers. If you have your questions up to now, you can ask your questions. And Noel, what do you think? Does racism have an
um,
effect on women?
I don't understand.
Was für eine Effekt hat Rassismus auf Frauen, auf die
Also,
Frauengesellschaft? Ja.
Hat es
ähm,
überhaupt?
in meine Opinion, also Frauen leiden noch mal mehr, die erfahren noch mehr Rassismus als Männer.
Mhm.
Das ist meine Stand der Dinge. Die haben mehrfach Rassismuserfahrung als Männer, die, also ich bin schwarz und eine schwarze Frau leidet noch mehr darunter als ich als Mann.
Okay,
Mhm.
wieso?
Mhm.
Hallo?
Ja, wir hören. Wieso?
Weil darunter nicht nur Frauen, sondern Sexismus eine große
Ja,
Rolle spielt.
ja, ja,
Und
genau.
also die Männergesellschaft, es gibt weniger Männer, die wirklich es gibt Männer, ja, aber weniger, die wirklich diese Sensibilität haben, also Frauen als auch, also Augenhöhe zu sehen. Die sehen Frauen als
Mhm.
schwäche Personen, als bestimmte,
Mhm.
also begrenzte Arbeit oder begrenzte Tätigkeiten und reduzieren Frauen an bestimmte Dinge. Und die Frauen,
Mhm.
also Frauen sind genauso, das ist dieser Mechanismus. Wir können Menschen nicht an Hautfarbe oder an ihre sexuelle Orientierung oder weil die Frauen sind, sollen die reduziert werden.
Mhm.
Dankeschön. Ich
Genau.
danke dir tausendmal, dass du dabei bist. And so I have to summarize what he said in English. And our brother, thank you for being here and thank you for supporting the women. We need a lot of
Thank
men.
you very
And
much.
I think that the next interview is going to be with you, and we're going to do that in German language. Thank you for being here and thank you for assisting us. And he says that women suffer a lot more racism than men because not only the aspect of racism, we have also the aspect of sexism in the
Mhm.
process, and therefore women have more to suffer on racism than men. And that takes me, thank you very much, sir, for the
Ciao,
word,
ciao,
borrowing
ciao.
the word. Goodbye, borrowing the word of sexism, and that takes me to the lady Sarah Batman. In the years in the 1900s, Sarah Batman was also a South African lady who was brought to Europe by the European, and they called her the zoo lady. So she was taken to the zoo because of her big Botox and because she was different from what the white men knew women to be. So they took her from one zoo to the other and exposed her there. And she was being paid very, very little amount of money. Because of the very little amount of money that she was being paid, she had to go in for prostitution and so that she could be able to fend a living. Mr. Ziffin, do you think that racism can push women to start prostitution? Is that also an effect of racism on women?
I would say we are in the 21st century. Yeah. And when we're talking about example of Sarah Batman, this was many, many years ago, where a lot of these women were used as sexual slaves. You are so right, yeah. And this is what I think where part of the heritage where I come from originated from as well. The mixture from the Khoisan with the European men, the Khoisan, our first Aborigines from South Africa, our first people, and the Zulus were the British people. They were mostly seen as sexual satisfaction to the men. Now we are in a position and in another era where it's not the same in Europe anymore. Years ago, I can think back of 15 years ago where black women, it's still an issue, but an issue for uneducated people. Yeah. But a lot of this is not such a big problem anymore because before, if I think of 15 years ago, the black woman and the South American woman and the Brazilian woman, the minute you say you're Brazilian, all they think of samba and salsa and sexual fantasies and whatever. Yeah. The thing is the same way it was with the African woman. Like I say, this era, we have moved from this era, from the Sarah Batman era, we have moved, yeah. We still do have a problem, but not as large as we had before,
Yes,
yeah.
my question was that's true. We are having another era, thank God. My question was the eyes by which the white supremacist, the oppressor, looked at Sarah Batman. Do you think do they still look at women nowadays with the same eyes, especially the African women?
I cannot agree on that because we are in another era. Like I say, my community is also very mixed. I deal also with a lot of men, and I must say I'm one of those women where the men also talk about everything. Yeah, with me, they feel themselves comfortable talking about a lot of things also. And the thing is uh, that she yeah, the men are more traveled. The men are more traveled. They have seen the broader side of the outside world. They are more educated. It's not like the eyes of the men like before, how they look at the woman right now. I think it's very unfair when you say, uh, it's very unfair to say that the men in this day and age still look at the woman in this manner, which is not right.
What is sexism?
In which context do you want to know from me?
Still in the context of racism, because if we are talking about sexism, then it is still on that context, and therefore, what is the effect of
But you
things
cannot
on the women? That was a
marginalize
question.
it. We cannot marginalize it to just an African woman.
That is true, but today we are talking about the African woman.
We cannot just marginalize it down to the African woman. We as African women should also stand up,
Yeah.
yeah. And then she has to say, I have respect for myself as a woman. And the minute we do that, when these uneducated men approach you, then some of these men who still approach us in this manner would also have, they move away. There will be less
Great.
of them. But the
Mm-hmm.
minute we accept it, yes, um, they have a soccer field to play on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So for us as women, it is a time to say, because I also get approached like that. It's not that
Mm-hmm.
I don't deal with that either. I
Mm-hmm.
also have men coming to me and talking to me in a sexual way, but I
Mm-hmm.
approach them. And the minute I approach them, they don't expect me to approach them. They have respect for me on the end. So it's a time where we as African women also have to step out
Mm-hmm.
and take our space and say, hey, hang on a bit. This is
Mm-hmm.
not the way I like to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't respect me, just move away from me. The thing is, our problem as African women is we accept too much. We
Mm-hmm.
accept way too much. It's by time this bus has come to the end station where we say no more. This is the deadline, no more. And we have to raise our voice and say, this is it. We also have a right to be here as a woman and to be respected as a woman, no matter which country we come from. And then
Mm-hmm.
the men out there will also have a different mindset.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much. We have to respect ourselves, and then hopefully the men will have a different mindset. Maria Kaina is asking the question: must a woman be educated or competent to have her due right from the white man? Must she be competent to have her right from the white man?
No, if he doesn't know how to respect a woman, yes, then he should not even be in the space to be in this life of this woman.
Wow.
You don't have the space. You're not his mother to educate him. That is not your job to educate him. If he was not educated to treat you right as a woman, it's not your job to do it. Punkt aus. And this is not even a point that I will go into negotiation, because when you go into negotiation within this point, then you already have a problem as a woman. It's by time we should not accept that you should say, oh, maybe I do wrong, maybe I should be doing that. No, if he's not educated enough from his home how to treat a woman, it's not your problem to fix. He has to fix his own problem, not you.
Okay.
Don't make it even your duty to fix his problem.
Okay. Chan Ali says, I think we also need to look at the triple threat of discrimination, black women, and poverty or poor. Thank you so much, Il or the Chan Il. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Charity. Thank you all. Sister Fern, you have a last word for the women listening to you. We have women listening all over the world. What would you tell the women?
I'm not sure because I can't see all the women who are sitting here. If you're all women of color and black women, or if we are mixed breed of women. But I can tell you, I can leave you on a positive note. As an African woman, we must. I do a mirror tour. I look in my mirror every morning, and it doesn't matter what is happening in my life or what is ahead of my day. I look in my mirror and I say, no matter what, I make myself looking good for myself. Then I tackle my day. And this energy that I have inside of me is the Ubuntu energy. You know what it means to have the Ubuntu energy? You are African, darling. Yeah. So if you look out there and say, I'm African, it's not just me. I have a lot of sisters dealing with what I'm dealing with right now. And they keeping my back. And the minute you have this set of mind inside of you, you can take your space in anything that you have to deal with. And even if you need to go for some information about how to deal with your different situations, we have a lot of NGOs. We have just in the Migra, in our big organization, the Migra, we have 8 different offices in Germany. We have places like Vera Samson, who's a very competent woman. People, you must stop going to look for help in German offices. Our sisters and brothers out there are confident, and they are educated enough to help you the next step and the next step and the next step. Stop letting people tell you to go for therapy. Tell them to go for therapy, because it's not your problem. They should deal with their problem first and get themselves educated to be able to deal with you. And then we have a clear cut. So take your space as a woman. You have all the right to take your space as a woman. And if there's questions, ask questions. There's enough of us. You can follow me on Facebook. Send me a message on Cornelia Hentschel. I will be very welcome to answer you. If I can't answer you, Vera Thompson will answer you, in whichever you guys are dealing out there. It doesn't matter from which part of the world you are watching us. And like I say, we are a big continent of 54 countries, So we are not like a country like Switzerland or Austria or Germany. They are very small countries. We are a continent, yeah? And we all one continent with different, and we all have the same energy and the same blood. So if we need to make change, the only way it's going to work is we have to do it together. We have to do it together. It doesn't matter from which country you come from.
Thank you so very much, Sazifun. You just be here. Let us continue with the conversation. I thank you so much for being my guest of honor today. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, who have been watching us. Today, we have the conversation on the effect of racism on women. And we want to say that yes, racism has an effect on women, but nonetheless, we understand that women have the ability. As a woman, you have the ability by educating yourself, asking questions, and of course, working hand in hand with other women so that we can overcome these monsters. And we understand that racism has a way of entering and penetrating the women. But Sezifin has also said that we can overcome racism in her own point of view through love, through confrontation, in the aspect of towards the direction of forgiveness. Like Nelson Mandela said one time, we learn to hate, therefore, we also can learn to love. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our program again today. We are meeting same time next week with another dynamic woman. And we are going to be talking about the effect of racism on integration. So I thank you and appreciate you for being here. Do not forget to subscribe to our link. Don't forget to join the family. We are a family. We are here to learn from one another, and we want to heal ourselves. This is your platform. It is my platform, and I'm happy to be your moderator today. My name is Vera Sampon, your sister in change. God bless you.